Oh, mine was so late, but there we go. Hi guys, and welcome to another video, another dungeon video. To kick this one off today, we're going to be doing the Dark Rind delves. We've actually finished all of the Char Homelands dungeons, which is pretty awesome now. So we're going to be doing the Dark Rind delves, which is in the Far Shiver Peaks, which is quite good because the lore for this video, as far as I can see, is all going to be about the Norn, and we're going to be looking at the stuff that was revealed in Norn Week, which should be pretty awesome. But before we start with all of that, let's read the book about the Ooze pit, which we finished last time. On page 4 here. So the earthquakes allowed numerous creatures, some previously unknown to man, to rise up from the depths. Yeah, this is one thing I didn't mention about the Oozes. If you remember, right at the start of Eye of the North, I talked about how there were some creatures that appeared in the capital cities around the world, like in Lion's Arch and so forth. Some of those creatures were Oozes, and they were to celebrate the fact that, they were to represent the fact that earthquakes had happened and new creatures had come out. And the Oozes they're just typical underground creatures, and you could find them on the surface for a while, but they were removed from the game at quite a while before I actually started doing my Let's Play, which kind of sucks, but still. These highly adaptable creatures mutate and thrive in all manner of environments, including the intense heat of molten earth. Their adaptability goes far beyond simple survival. Oozes get more than simple sustenance from feeding upon their prey. They assume the magical abilities inherent in the creatures they ingest. So they're basically Kirby. There is no telling how many creatures and humans may linger within an ooze, giving it access to a huge variety of powers. As a result, elder oozes are far more dangerous than their young. As a testament to the tenacity of the human race, some merchants specialise in trading for the jelly-like creatures. The Ooze's applications in magic, medicine and alchemy are far-reaching. One guy you may have seen in the previous video, I spoke to a collector who was collecting blobs of ooze, and if you gave him enough, you could get like some explosive ooze, or no, you could get like a consumable ooze in return that would reduce death penalty, which is quite interesting, kind of cool. I love how this page, though, it doesn't actually talk about the plot of the dungeon we did. It doesn't talk about how the Char wanted explosives or anything. It just uses this as an opportunity to talk about the lore of the oozes, and this is all you really get on lore on the oozes. So yeah, lap it up, enjoy it. Right, so the next page, of course, is going to be in the Norn, the Far Shiver Peaks, the Norn Homelands. So we're actually going to be leaving this outpost. We're going to be map travelling to, and I've not warned anyone I'm about to do this, the dungeon's up here to an area of Bureau Marches that we've not actually seen before. So I might actually show the whole walk when we're doing it. That's another dungeon as well. You can see the little portal there. Let's go to Long Eyes Ledge first. And hopefully no one freaks out that we're moving. Awesome, so already we're going to be coming out of Long Eyes Ledge. I've never actually in the Let's Play walked backwards through this portal. This is the first time we're going to do this. And we're going to head to the north of the Biora Marches, where we'll find two Norn having a conversation. So let's do it. Okay, so we're pretty close here. We basically just fought our way through this Stone Summit camp here, and you can see in the distance there, the actual entrance to the dungeon is over there. However, the quest giver for this dungeon isn't right outside it. He's over in this village, and they've already gone and triggered the conversation. So there's two Norn basically speaking to each other, and they say, "By the bear, did I not make myself clear? A threat this great requires an equally great warrior, and who better than he who has slain the great two-headed troll of the Ciara swamps?" I wonder if those swamps are in Kryta. "Is that the best kill you can claim? Bah, a mere rodent nibbling at the heels of great beasts I have slain. While you defeated a single creature with but two heads, I killed twice and twice again that number of deadly warbling hemlock devourers." Warbling? What? How could any beast with a name reserved for birds be ferocious? Your lack of wisdom only proves I should fight the great Jotun. A warbling hemlock devourer can kill with a single sting, but that is nothing to the keening wail they emit. To even hear the sound ring across the mountains has driven lesser men insane. Your prattling is enough to drive me insane. Stand aside and allow me to fell this beast, or I shall be forced to whet my weapon's appetite on your thick skull first. Okay, so you get two Norn having a discussion here, and one of them will give you the quest. We can speak to this guy as well.
How can I help?
He says, "Can you feel the stirrings in the wind? Little one, the Jotuns are raiding. Today is a good day to hunt." So we'll speak to this guy here. I love this. This is so Norn. There's a lot of the Norn dungeons you actually see Norn having conversations outside of them. Particularly the next dungeon we'll do next week on Saturday, a really, really awesome one called Frostmoors, has got a brilliant conversation with a load of Norn just outside it. But this guy here says, "What's that? Is someone talking to me? Ah, look down, Kolgrim. We have an audience. You humans are all so small, hardly worth noticing." Wow, they sound a bit like the Asura there. "Be quiet while the big folks talk. Jotun attacks have increased of late, and now a great Jotun rampages through the mountains, terrorizing the young. We must decide who is more fit to slay the ferocious beast dwelling within the Darkrime delves. Today I plan to send this great Jotun to the afterlife. Everyone knows I am the greater warrior, but I fear the beast will die of old age before I convince this aged fool of the simple truth. Okay, there's no need to argue. I shall slay the beast. Yes, awesome. I guess you guys probably saw that coming. So that's the plot of this one. We're going in for the sake of killing the boss at the bottom, and you know, that makes perfect sense to me, really. There might be some other Norn around here, actually. Yeah, look, we got a collector. We may as well listen to what they have to say. I mean, it's a very out-of-the-way little village here. It's the kind of place I'd like to have been an outpost, maybe like a nice little secret outpost out in the middle of nowhere, but whatever. So this guy says, have you ever clapped two mandragora husks together? It sounds just like the mod near Ooze thundering through the mountains. I love that sound, the way it echoes on forever. I've run out of husks, or I would show you. If you bring me 5, why does he need 5 to clap them together? I'll not only show you how to clap them together, I'll even give you this in return. Maybe he needs a couple more for his friends or something. And we've got this guy over here, Volsung Irongut, who says, come, let's enjoy a pint and forget our worries, friend. I love this, just like a Norn out in the middle of nowhere who wants to have a drink with you. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So this is the little village. We'll go back to the Shining Blade camp and into the dungeon. I find it very curious that they put the dungeon entrance all the way over there with the Shining Blade, with the stone summit, rather than just out here by the village. But whatever. Okay, so let's keep going. And here, of course, is the entrance. So I will hand you guys over to... Ooh, why have we got lines being drawn here? I'll hand you guys over to my past self, to my future self, should I say, as we start talking about the lore. And I hope you enjoy the dungeon. If I remember, this is another one I don't play that often, but if I remember rightly, it's a good one. So, oh, the line was for me, was it? Okay, right, let's go on in. So, the Darkrime Delves. Whew. Alright, okay. Get nice and comfortable. I've got my water. Hi guys, and welcome to the post commentary for this dungeon run for the Darkrime Delves. It's Thursday today. I've been doing this commentary off for ages. I completely flatted myself out on the weekend when I did the Divinity's Reach one with all the different military arms of the Critons and stuff like that. I completely wore myself out, and I don't know what it is. Like, coming home from work, I was just like, oh, I can't be bothered. So I'm finally doing it today on Thursday. Hi everyone. I do have news about the next dungeon that we'll be doing. Just before we get into this, the next dungeon is going to be Frostmore's Burrows. Okay, that's going to be on Saturday, as all the dungeons have been on Saturdays and Sundays. But you remember on the video where I released information about the dungeon runs? And how I said that we could do Ventrilo if people were interested. Well, I mentioned that in the video, and then pretty much every other person who posted a comment on that basically said, oh yeah, I'll do Ventrilo. The truth is, like, getting the Ventrilo together is really just going to be a pain, so I can't do it for everyone. But this one run, I think there might be a couple of other really hard runs, like the last one, the last dungeon, which is actually like 4 dungeons in one. It's really cool. But when we get to that at the end of the series, that might be Ventrilo as well. But this one in particular, on Saturday, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's, unless my opinion changes while we're filming this series, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is my favourite dungeon we're going to be doing. It's called Frostmore's Burrows. It's in the Norn homelands, and my god, is it a good dungeon, but it's also very hard. So we will be doing a Ventrilo run here, okay? The only 3 people I know will be here. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you'll know I'm very good friends with Guild Wars Buddy and Magical Mike 2. Both of them are here on YouTube as well. And it will actually be in Guild Wars Buddy's Ventrilo server. So there'll be us 3 there, and we'll obviously be there to chat with you guys, which leaves room for, as long as some of you can heal and soul twist, which I'm sure you can. It's happened pretty much every week so far. As long as we have that, that actually leaves room for 5 more people, okay? So 5 of you. And I hate, you know how much I hate sort of turning people away and stuff, but this basically does mean 5 people will be able to come on Frostmore's, and those 5 people, hopefully, I don't know how I'll decide who it is that can do it, will be people that have got Ventrilo and are super happy to come on and have a nice chat with us. And what will be happening is my video of the dungeon will be just like all the others. You won't be hearing Ventrilo chatter and stuff in the background of my video. However, that video with all the Ventrilo chatter, as far as I understand it anyway right now, will be going up on Magical Mike's channel, and there you'll be able to view the dungeon if you want, with the dungeon chat as well. So it's just like, there's going to be so much to see with this dungeon video. There's going to be having to decide if you want to listen to me talking about lore, decide whether you want to focus on the gameplay of the dungeon, or decide if you want to listen to us on Ventrilo, in which case you'll be able to watch another video, which of course I'll be linking to there. But yeah, so that's next video anyway. I did want to mention that, so if you're interested, just type a comment. Well, but be sure that you can actually do it, because obviously it can be only 5 people. If you're really happy to be on Vent and you're quite talkative and friendly, then yeah, definitely leave a comment. Don't forget, because you might at the end. I'll definitely forget to mention it by the end of this video. So yeah, do leave a comment, let me know, and we'll see what we'll do there. But for all intents and purposes, I guess that means that it will be slightly different grouping up for Saturday, but Sunday it will be back to normal, and the rest of them it will be back to normal. Another thing, actually, Winter's Day will be coming up soon, and I think for Winter's Day, those weekends, we won't do dungeon runs, so that I can focus on doing Winter's Day content during those days. I hope that's alright with you guys. We'll obviously continue doing the dungeons immediately after I finish those. It should only be maximum 1 weekend. I reckon I can pump out all the content in 1 weekend. I mean, I did that for Halloween, and we had a hell of a lot of Halloween videos going on, so I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, there might be 1 weekend where we don't do dungeons as well, but yeah, okay. So the Dark Rind Delves, you guys might have already been looking through the comments and stuff. I'm not quite sure where in the video it's going to be right now, but you will find that it took quite a funny turn. Basically, with this dungeon where I had to turn people away again who couldn't come, they essentially decided that, and you actually see one of my guild members chatting to me in personal messages, they actually decided that they wanted to do the dungeon anyway, and they went off, and this is amazing, and they actually started later than us. I think they started like 5 minutes after we did, and sort of halfway through the run, you'll see me get contacted, and basically it starts a race between the 2 people doing the dungeons. Someone, Malkior, actually, who came on the previous, came to the Ooze pits, actually said that would be a cool idea, and it just happened during this dungeon. So you actually see we're racing each other, and obviously you'll see at the end of the dungeon who won the race. But it's a pretty cool dungeon. It's another one of those dungeons with lots of dialogue as we go through, because there are going to be some Norn coming with us as we go through. It's a bit weird because the quest acceptance and reward dialogues for this dungeon don't actually acknowledge the fact that these 2 Norn come with you during the dungeon, which is very, very odd. But there's basically lots of dialogue going on as through it, and I will be having in the description of this video all the dialogue that comes out there, and also there will be links to whatever blog posts we end up doing for this little chat section. I actually quite like these chat sessions, to be honest. I've been putting it off, but it's nice. I just kind of get to relax back and read web pages and sort of read stories out to you guys, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, what am I actually going to be linking to? So we had last time the line of duty, the 3 military orders of Kryta. Very cool. I think I'll probably will have preferred the story we talked about during that one over this Norn stuff generally, because okay, and don't get me wrong, all right, I like the Norn, they're cool. It's just they're not necessarily my favorite race, but I'm very enthusiastic about all the lore that they came out with the Norn week. I guess this means that the first race week we ever had was the Norn week. I thought it was definitely human week. So why is Norn week here on this blog post then? We did have human week first. That was the first week. Interesting. I may in a couple of dungeon videos we may go back to human lore, but since we're in a Norn dungeon right now, we may as well start looking at this. So it looks to me like the first post came out on February the 21st of 2011. Norn week begins. That's just an intro to it. Oh no, here we go. So Legend and Legacy. This was February 22nd, okay, 2011. The Norn in Guild Wars 2. Okay, so this will probably just be an overview of the race. It's not a particularly long blog post, but basically it was a whole week of blog posts that came out. So we'll have plenty of time and lots of different stuff to read through all of these blog posts. So let's get into it. This was written by David Wilson, one of the writers. I never give the other writers in ArenaNet enough credit for the stuff that they write. I always feel bad about that. I always just mention Ree Soseby and Jeff Grubb because they're like the lore world builders, but there are so many other guys that do stuff. So yeah, big shout out to David Wilson, I guess. So this guy says, my name is David Wilson. I'm an editor and writer for Guild Wars 2 design team. Hold on, is this a proper thing that we want to see? I suppose we can read this out. This isn't necessarily stories, but it will tell us a lot more about the Norn. So here we go. We're putting a lot of effort into bringing Tyria to life, he says, making it feel like some place people actually live. And of course we've seen them. I really do agree that they're doing very well with this, with the dynamic events. With each race taking a prominent role in Tyria now, making sure that they feel true to their roots while still feeling alive and unique has taken a lot of care and consideration. Of all the races, he says, it may seem easiest to keep the Norn intact, but like the others, their culture has grown and advanced over time. So we're quite familiar with the Norn Norn at the moment. Very strongly independent race. They're hunters. They prefer to fight alone. They very much driven by building their own legend. They build their outposts and things and name them after powerful Norn, like Gunnar's Hold. They have their scouts, and they like to tell stories and sing songs and stuff like this. You know, we know the Norn. And in fact, these two Norn that we're with in the dungeon right now are probably sort of being perfect examples of what typical Norn are like. In fact, when we get outside Frostmour's burrows, there's such an incredible... And Magical Mike reminded me of it as well the other day. It's so good. So I read the wiki on what they read. It's so cool, some of the conversation they talk about outside there. But we'll see that, obviously, next dungeon video. So, it's been 250 years since the days of Guild Wars Eye of the North, and while the Norn may not have been hit as hard as humanity, they've still had their fair share of problems. Jormag, the Elder Ice Dragon, drove the Norn from their lands in the far Shiver Peaks 160 years ago. The information, I guess some of the information here we're going to be reading will overlap with stuff that we hear about in The Movement of the World, which is this huge article that was released very shortly after Eye of the North came out. It is still in my plans. If you go on my channel, it's still there. It is still in my plans to read out the Movement of the World article. So I will be doing it eventually. I mean, I think when I first started Eye of the North, obviously Eye of the North dragged on for ages, that Let's Play. I think when I first started Eye of the North, my plan was to do it immediately after, but we've kind of jumped into dungeons. It will be happening though after we've read this, definitely, because it's cool. But there might be a little bit of overlap there, but they'll definitely be going into more detail than that specific article does, because that's more of an overview of freaking everything we know, so it doesn't go into too much depth. But, so the Norn's greatest heroes attempted to slay Jormag, but none were its match. The Norn would have continued their battle against Jormag until none were left if the spirits of the wild hadn't guided them south, down into the northern Shiver Peaks. So this is really, really interesting, because the spirits in Eye of the North for the Norn, they seem a lot more passive. They kind of seem like something the Norn believe in, and they are a kind of a tangible thing, because obviously we see them and we understand that there are various magics in the world that allow the Norn to sort of transform into bears, and that there is something real going on there. We don't know really whether the spirits are exactly how the Norn perceive them to be, though. I mean, just like how I question that the human gods are exactly how the humans perceive them to be as well, because like we see how Melanju could be one thing in the human's eyes, and that same entity could be something completely different in the eyes of the Asura, or the script might be a better example there. So we don't know very much about the spirits, but here we actually hear that they've been quite active, and in fact some of them die as well. I'm not sure if it's this blog post that talks about it, but definitely 2 of the spirits die, and it's pretty nuts. So this was 160 years ago that the spirits of the wild guided the Norn south, so they've been south for quite a long time. I guess it's a good thing that it was 160 years ago, because that actually gives the Norn time to have established real places within the northern Shiver Peaks. Don't forget, the Norn they live for a very, very long time, so I mean 160 years, I suppose a Norn could be that old. So I suppose in Guild Wars 2 we might find a Norn that saw the Norn be pushed down from the far Shiver Peaks with his own eyes. Like maybe that Norn's father was a child during the time of Eye of the North. That'd be quite interesting. But the spirits of the wild guided them south down into the northern Shiver Peaks. It was there that the hero Asgir built the great hunting lodge Holbrak, placing Jormag's tooth in the centre. Holbrak became both a respite from and a reminder of the foe they faced. So yeah, right in the centre of Holbrak, this is the hometown, the starting place for Norn characters. This is the huge hub of activity for them, and you can actually see, and people have seen it in the demos, it's huge. You can see that actual tooth of an elder dragon, and there's a bit of mystery about how they actually broke the tooth off. In fact, there's this really cool scene where where Destiny's Edge are holding one of the legendary Ascalonian swords, the one that Ritlock's got. Oh, I don't want to spoil too much, but they've got Soathin, right, which is one of the legendary Ascalonian swords, and they're trying to break the tooth because this becomes a big Norn custom, which I'm sure I'll talk about later as the blog post goes into it. And they essentially establish in the book that only magical objects can damage or hurt elder dragon flesh or matter, essentially. And they've got this amazing scene where they try and break the tooth, but with a different weapon. And after you learn about what can actually damage these elder dragons, you kind of look back at that scene and you're like, wow, what if they'd actually struck it with Soathin? It's really, really quite cool. But yeah, I'm getting way ahead of myself. So the next section of the blog post is a place to call home. Okay, so Holbrak is the great hunting lodge in the centre of a sprawling encampment that grew around it over the years. Throughout the settlement, people can be heard going about their daily lives, now under the care of Nut Whitebear, Askir's grandson. Oh, okay, maybe my theory kind of falls short a bit there. Well, no, actually, it doesn't really fall short. Basically, the Norn are very long-lived, except they're so desperate to build themselves a legend and make themselves remembered, they tend to kill themselves in the process, doing ridiculous things. So, yeah, it does make sense that Askir's grandson would already be there. So, this is Nut Whitebear. He's actually spends a lot of time in Edge of Destiny. You hang out with him. I know somewhere, it might have been from the demo, his name is spelled like nut, and I always read it as nut, but it's actually Newt. It's Newt Whitebear. It's a bit like Ratassoum. It's a bit annoying. I don't know whether it's just an American pronunciation or whether ArenaNet decided deliberately that they were going to do a bit of a weird thing there, because they do that in Divinity's Reach as well. In Divinity's Reach, you know, the Seraph, the police force, essentially, as we talked about loads in the last dungeon video. The Seraph in Divinity's Reach, humans actually call them like the Seraph, or they say a bit of a weird way of pronouncing it. And I remember when that was revealed, everyone on the forums was like, "Oh, they're saying it wrong, that's so ridiculous." And ArenaNet turned around and said, no, we're doing this on purpose to give the Crichtons a bit of culture, which is kind of cool. I think, though, if they wanted to do that, they should have given them an entire accent of their own, not just done a very weird different accent on a single word in the middle of what is otherwise a completely normal American accent, or whatever accent they use in there. So very, very weird. But and I already feel a little bit bad there for saying American accent, because yes, there is no such thing as an American accent, whatever, you know what I mean. So yeah. Now, under the care of Newt Whitebear, Askir's grandson, Holbrook is the safest place around for people to prepare for hunt, meet up with friends, or just share a drink at an ongoing moot. It's become a hub of activity for the Norn and anyone to interact with them. So, this blog post, it's got some voice acting, essentially. This is what some of these other blog posts do. They let you hear what some of the characters have to say. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to play this and hope that my microphone picks up the quality really nicely. If I like it, then I'll just leave it as it is. If not, I'll probably cut into the video, if possible, if I can download these actual sound bites so that you guys can hear. So this first one's called Subtle Bragging Moot Attendance, okay?
Who's the mightiest Norn you know?
Impossible to say. Some are great hunters, some are great fighters, some are great drinkers.
I see you managed to sneak in what you do well there at the end.
Will you be attending the next great ale moot in Holbrook?
Does the spirit of wolf run, or raven fly? I'll be there, and I'll outdrink you.
Excuse me, how much is that?
That one's mine. It's not for sale.
Are you sure? I can pay handsomely. It's magnificent.
Why not gaze at my inventory? I sell marvelous, murderous, massive weapons at low prices. Would you like a demonstration? Watch me cut, watch me slice, watch me butcher an animal in one swift stroke.
Oh my, no, please, put the weapon down.
You'll be back.
I love the way that guy just says, "You'll be back." So hopefully you guys could hear that fine. It's pretty cool. I like these little sound bites. It's a good way to sort of mix things up. Of course, if you've just been reading the comments in the dungeon and then that suddenly comes on, that probably will have shocked you a little bit. But welcome back to the lore. Okay, so when others come calling.